Hey, this is Nidhi and I'm one of the experts here at English Wise. This video I'm actually going to be talking about a very important task, which is write from dictation. Now guys, like we all know within the PT world, everyone knows that write from dictation seems to be a very tedious and challenging task. Now that is primarily due to its marking criteria and how PT actually marks it, right? Now before I actually get into the video about the marking criteria, I would like to explain what write from dictation is for all of you students, right? Now when you are dealing with write from dictation, which happens to be the very last task of your listening module, all you have to do is listen to a fairly short recording which lasts anywhere between 3 or 7 seconds. And your job is to merely write down that sentence onto the computer screen in front of you. Now sounds really simple, but then it is quite tedious and challenging over time. Now I'll explain that why to you. The main reason why many people do end up feeling that it's really difficult or challenging, like I said at the beginning of the video, is due to its marking criteria. Now the marking criteria is extremely important to understand if you are able to utilize your strategy effectively. Please make sure that you note down these two key factors in your marking criteria, which happens to be positioning plus sequence. I'll explain what positioning actually means to you. Now have a look at the sentence right here. It says John got 8 each. Now if you have a look, there are 4 words in total, where John happens to be the very first word, got happens to be the second word, 8 happens to be your third word, and each happens to be your fourth word. So in total 4 words. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say a student did not really hear the word John and started with the word got 8 each. Now, according to the computer, the marking is going to be completely different and varied. Reason being, the first word was John, but your first word was got. So John, got is not matching, so you don't get points for that. The second word that the student wrote was 8, but the second word according to the original recording was got. So 8 and got does not match because it does not happen to be under the second positioning. I hope you're understanding what I'm actually trying to say. With write from dictation, guys, the actual recording, which is John got 8 each, has to be the same as the student sentence, where John and John has to match, got and got has to match, 8 and 8 has to match, and each has to match. So 1, 2, 3, 4 positioning. And when I mentioned sequencing, even that is extremely important. When I say sequence, the word next to each other has to be displayed exactly like how it was mentioned in the recording. John got 8 each. Now, if a student wrote John 8 each, again, you have skipped the word got, which happened to be your second position, and you've also messed up the sequence. Thereby, you only get 1 point out of 4 points, if I'm clear that. And again, like I mentioned before, if the student ended up writing got 8 each, none of the sequence or none of the position is actually going to match, and the student ends up getting no points for that particular sentence. Alternatively, let's look at another way. Now, if the student had written John got 5 each. Now again, the third position was 8 according to the original recording, but the student wrote 7 each. Although they are not the same words, the student has replaced the word under this third position, which still gets the student 3 out of 4 points. So guys, the main take home message from this particular video is, remember one thing: always make sure that you can replace your words, but never skip or add a word, because when you skip a word from the original recording, or if you add a word to the original recording, you will affect the positioning and the marking of your write from dictation. Rather, if you have forgotten if there was a word, always make sure to replace it with another word so the position does not get affected and you thereby get points for the other words. I hope this particular video was actually clear for you and you were able to understand your marking criteria, especially when it comes to write from dictation. And please don't forget, guys, when you have write from dictation, it's not only your listening that happens to be at stake, you also have your transferable scores to writing. In total, you have about 56 to 60 points, where you get about equal points to your writing and listening, and that is a lot of points that you don't really want to miss. So make sure that you actually understand a bit more about positioning and sequencing, and you never end up missing or skipping a word. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you again in my next video.